Take or without, we gon' make it. Show the world that I shine in our greatness. Keep it real, never gon' fake this. Till we make it. Taking off, flying high like a spaceship.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Stephen Jones in the house. Stephen Jones, you're back on the podcast. You made it back.
I made it back.
So I asked you to come back because we had Landon, how many people did we have? A lot of people said that they loved your episode.
Oh man, dang. I just, truth speaks loudly. It's nothing that's mine. You know what I mean?
I think I kind of want to have you coming back regularly.
Let's do it, man. I'm down to do it. I'd love it.
So you're kind of a comedian. You're kind of a motivator. You're kind of dude, how do you describe yourself?
I say inspirational comedian, but I mean, I'm just me. I'm Stephen Jones.
You're pretty dynamic though.
One of the things that I think is interesting actually is I recently, because on the last show I talked about how if you want to go here, go to this place. If you want to go there, go to this place, like social media. And I recently just changed it. I changed it to just Stephen Jones is real, all the same thing, just one place. Because I'm tired of trying to put myself in a box.
Yeah.
And just everything is everything and I'm me. You know what I mean? Not to make it broad, but just I can't just be.
People need to go follow you because you have a really good way of having a good message, an uplifting message, but then doing it with comedy. And that's hard to do. I think people are either really funny, but they can't be taken serious, or they're too serious and they're not funny at all. But you're able to talk about things and like parenting.
Yeah.
Because parenting it's hard, but it can be really funny too if you have a different outlook on it, right?
Oh, for sure. But the thing is though, it's just me, and I feel like some people are whatever they are, but I mean that's who I am, and that's just people. You might say it's hard, but for me, it's just who I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
This is the Shake the Earth podcast, and Stephen Jones, you're an earth shaker. Do you believe it?
Shake it like a salt shaker. I don't even know. I got this. I went there on that. Why did I say that? I don't know.
So I wanted to have you come on because a couple years ago, you did this piece on decisions.
Yeah.
How do you help people make decisions that are going to impact the future? Don't live day to day. I always tell people this. Yeah. Grab your hand and put it in front of your face.
Yeah.
And then grab your finger and put it in front of your eye. And that finger is really small relative to the rest of the world. But some people make decisions based on only what they see in front of their eye.
Yeah.
So remove those things. And how do you make decisions, whether it's a career change or a relationship thing, or a lot of people want to start businesses. It seems like that's a cool thing to do.
Yep.
Or relationships, whatever it might be.
Yep.
But how do you and you talk about that. You go into depth on this, on this talk, and it's on YouTube. People should go check it out.
Yeah. So first of all, when you put your hand up, I was like, you kind of went a different way. I was like, your hand is bigger than your finger. No, that's not where you were going. Sorry. I'm like, the hand is different. No. Listen, there's one question that I've asked myself that helps me put life into perspective. But I mean, what you got to do is I want to give you just a little bit of background. At one point in my life, I really finally came to a conclusion. I know what I'm going to do. I've decided, I've chosen, I know what it's going to be. It was clear. The vision was there. I'm going forward, I'm moving. And all of a sudden, boom, I failed. It didn't work. And I just was stopped in my tracks. But then that whole failure is really stepping myself back and moving on again. It wasn't necessarily the idea, but it was just, maybe I just needed to switch it up a little bit. And so in that process, it really taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about, help me understand what I really, really want and how to make better choices. Not just, this was a career choice,
Yeah. And you talk a little bit about that on the previous podcast, but you kind of hit the scene 2008, 2009. Yeah. You were super popular. You came out with some really good content. And you kind of had an idea of what you wanted to do, and then you've said this a couple times, but you're then reality set in. I got married. I had to figure out what life insurance was, or health insurance was. I had to figure out what utilities were. It's hard. That's a hard thing to come to grips with. Yeah.
Well, people, something that you got to understand, and everybody, we never. A lot of times we put our career with our purpose, and we have to not that you shouldn't have a career that is purposeful, but what I'm saying is, 200 years ago, nobody worked for the Industrial Revolution hasn't been going on that long in the history of the world, you know? And so I feel we're in this really interesting time where it's what should I do with my life? how do I choose?
There's so many options, right?
There's so many options.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, we've combined like our livelihood with our purpose. And like, if we're not fulfilling our purpose and we're not doing it in our job, like it has to be our job, and it can be. But I feel like that's where a lot of the friction comes from.
That's deep, because 200 years ago, people were just working to stay alive.
People worked to stay alive. It was very agricultural. You know what I mean? Like there was divisions in society, but a lot of like, nobody woke up like back in like, 1500s and we're like, man, you know what? I don't know if I'm really feeling like this.
I gotta go find myself.
I gotta go find, people just, if you played instruments, nobody got paid to play an instrument. You know what I'm saying? Nobody got paid to do stuff like that. People just did it, and people would watch them, and people enjoyed it because that's what they like to do. And then they would live on a farm and they would feed their family and they would do all that kind of stuff, But isn't it interesting?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a different way to look at it. But like now I feel like we have so much abundance, much abundance with everything, with technology, with resources, with money, like just living the way that people live here in the United States. We are living in abundance.
And I don't think we realize it, and so we kind of get stuck.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, what am I going to choose? So
yeah.
That's kind of what happened with me. And in that whole process, like I had to come to a conclusion of, how I was going to do it. So things were going well, but then, life hit, and I'm like, okay, I got to get health insurance. But that's kind of crazy. That's a whole nother topic, man. Health insurance is all the same. If you like, I've been on health insurance and it's just, you're either paying for it, you're paying the same. It really is the same. Anyway, we're not going to get into health insurance, but those are the things that drive us to make decisions.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Like those little things, like putting your finger in front of your eye.
Yeah.
Like that could be the decision. And it is the deciding point for a lot of people. It's like, well, this job or this opportunity has life insurance. Yeah. This one doesn't, but I would be more fulfilled doing this other one. But I'm going to go with security because that life insurance or that health insurance, I keep calling it life insurance, either or, right? Whatever it is, or benefits or whatever it might be. And this is where you're going, and I don't want to cut you off, but like your aha moment was like, I want to make decisions that impact
forever.
Did you whisper that?
Forever.
Yeah. Say that again.
Did you hear me? Like listen, like the most fulfillment that I feel, and this is where it came from, like literally. So if you give a little bit of background, the first job I had, I actually worked for a company that I did a gig for. I did a Christmas party for their corporate. I was a corporate entertainer for their annual Christmas party.
This is a big company.
It's huge now, huge. Yeah. At the time, it was growing fast. It was like a decent size. Like, I mean, like there's like, and so I performed for this company in December. Then I turn around and I end up like applying for a sales position. Because I wanted to do organizational behavior, and I was like, okay, I want to get an MBA. You got to have work experience. That's another story, though, you know. And so I go to this job, and it's like I just was performing for them. It's kind of humbling. It's like I was like, I came in and did the performance, and I'm like, okay, guys, let's go and let's just make some sales here now, you know, right, right. And so here I am at the very bottom, and people are like, all the people like 2 months ago were like, that was legit. That was so cool. And like, I'm like, hey guys, I got that sale, you know? But it was humbling.
Totally changed. Like that's
totally changed, man. My mindset. Like, I mean, I was not a technical person. I'm working for a technology company, and it felt like, we talked about this last time, man. It felt like prison. The first day I went to work, I came home, and this is no joke. I came home and I cried. Like, I was on the bed and I was like, what in the world? Like, I was just like, what have I done? Like, what have I gotten myself into? And I remember
Do you think you felt that way because it was such a departure from where you envisioned yourself going? And then also maybe a realization that like this, in order to make money, in order to pay for health insurance, I've got to do this. Like,
isn't that stupid? Like, that is the most, and I every ounce and every minute that I was there, it is like I benefit from that experience all day long, right? But that inner struggle was like the idea of like, I'm not really aligned with like who I am really, you know what I mean? But that could be just a story I'm telling myself too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was easy for me to like blame and say like, nah, man, my wife, or she's scared, and like but I was really scared. Yeah. I was really scared. Like I, as a provider, like wanting to, move on with my life and continue to progress. But in that whole situation, I remember the CEO of the company, good dude, man. Like he noticed that I was kind of struggling, like after a couple of weeks, and he actually sat down with me, man. He said, hey, like, this is what he told me, and I'll never forget. Like, he took the time, like, of this huge company. He said, hey, I want to talk to you. And I came and I met with him in his office. And this is what he told me. He says, man, I want to see you hitting home runs, man. Like, what can we do, like, to do it? And he's like, what do you want to be? You want to be an entertainer? Because, I mean, is that what do you want? And he gave me this example, and he's like, he talked about his brother who's like this, like, he's like amazing at coding, like but he's very, he's basically good at both. He's like, if you could be technical and creative, is basically what he concluded, then you could, like, man, you could just walk in and people could just write you a check for whatever you want. And so really what I came to the point of is, like, I wanted to quit so bad. Like, I wanted to quit every single day. But we had this guy, he's actually a mentor of mine. He came in and he told me this story. And this is where the whole, like, the question came from. The question was that I asked myself is, will this matter in 1,000 years? And this is where it originated. So he came to me and he said, I was on this plane with this guy. And it's a young guy, 30 years old, something like that. He's in his 50s. And he's saying, like, as we were talking, right before he left, he said, the questions are powerful. Because he's doing the sales training. And he said, I asked this guy this question. I said, where were you 100 years ago? And where will you be in 100 years? And will your family be there with you? And he said, I can help you answer that question. Yeah, here's my card. I'll talk to you. If you want to know, let me know. And so from that point, I realized myself, I changed it to 1,000 years. And I said for myself, I was like, I want to do something that will matter in 1,000 years. And here where I am at this company, I can choose to, like, hate it every day, or I can make it the best. I don't want to leave this place until I, like, figure this out.
Yeah.
And so I did.
How long were you there?
I was there for like 2.5 years, almost.
Okay, I was going to say you were there for a long time.
Yeah. And I figured, I was like, look, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here. If I'm gonna stay, I'm gonna stay. If I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna leave.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things is, like, choice is the biggest part of this whole scenario.
So I kind of got into that as well last time, right, with my previous company. Like, either stop complaining about where you're at, or make the decision to move forward and change your environment. And I think a lot of people that are listening, they might be in a tech job like you were for 2.5 years. Or they might be going through a rough time right now. They might be going through drug addiction. They might be going through a divorce. They might be going through an identity crisis, right? They might be going through a midlife crisis, which are real.
Yeah.
But I think the principles are the same.
Listen, that situation, those 2.5 years changed my life. Like, I cannot complain about a dang thing. The things that happened to me, I use those skills now. So in the moment,
it's kind of cemented your idea, your purpose. It really forged it for you. I know even more now what I want. And so this is something that I thought that I recently have learned this is a mentor of mine. His name is Michael Bailey. This is another guy that I was talking to. And it's the idea of choice. Let me just give you this example, okay? So he says, okay, I want you to imagine, and I'm gonna act like I'm talking like him, and I'm gonna talk to you, okay? He said to me, he says, I want you to imagine that I got 2 ice cream cones. I got chocolate in my left hand. I got vanilla in my right hand. Okay. And he says, now, right now, which one do you want? I'm asking you. So I'm going to be you. I'm going to say
chocolate in my left, vanilla in my right. Yeah. And I'm just going to ask you for real. So I'm not going to say what I did. I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So chocolate in my left. I am chocolate though. Anyway, chocolate in my left, vanilla in my right. Which one do you want?
Vanilla.
You want vanilla? Okay, so now let's suppose that I give you the chocolate. Okay, so the chocolate's in my left hand, I give you the chocolate, and then
I take it.
You take it, okay? So you take it, and now I say to you, which one do you have?
Chocolate.
Now, but which one did you want?
Vanilla.
Well, why do you have the chocolate?
Because I took it from you. I grabbed it.
Because you grabbed it. So now, what do you think most people would say?
They would probably blame it on you, right? This is what you gave me.
Yeah, most people, I've done this to so many people, and I say, because it changed my life. Like I said, most people say, because you gave it to me.
Yeah.
I want to say 9 out of 10 people will say right off the bat, you gave it to me.
Instead of saying, because I took it.
Because I took it. But the real reason is because you chose it.
I chose it. I took it from you.
And so Michael said to me, he said, Stephen, it's not about what you want all the time. It's about what you what you choose. And I was just like,
your ear started bleeding.
How many times do we like, man, this is like, we blame everything. And if you want,
it's so easy though. It feels so good to blame somebody else.
But I know what I want. No, most people don't even know what they want, right? Most people don't even know what they want. Most people, they have stuff, but like they don't realize that they chose it.
Yeah.
They don't even realize like, at this job, like, no, you can choose to leave. If you're going to leave, choose to leave. If you're going to stay, choose to stay. And that choice is powerful.
So last week I had a young man who I know, he's 20 years old, reach out to me and say, hey, can I go to lunch? Can we go to lunch? I want to talk to you. So I said, yes. This story, this little anecdote ties directly into what you just said right now. I know this person quite well. We sit down. It's been probably several months since I've met with him. And I say, what are you doing? You're 20 years old. You're out of high school. You're kind of expecting yourself to be at a certain point when you're 20 years old. I know I did. And he tells me, yeah, I want to start a business like you do. I want to start this business. I want to start this business. And then I want to be some trade profession. And I said, those are all three of those things are really good things. Like, those are great things. And then I just said one thing. And I said, are you going to do it?
Just drop the mic.
Are you going to do it? And then his question was, I want to do it. And I said, everybody wants to do certain things. And I'm not saying this because I'm an expert at anything.
No.
But I said, everybody wants to do something. I want to be on a beach right now.
Yeah.
I want to go be doing something else.
Good job.
But are you going to do? There's a complete difference. And I think people, oftentimes they get enamored with what they want to do or what they see other people doing, that they actually get blinded to what it takes to do those things.
Yeah.
So what I did was I grabbed a napkin. This is like the most cliche thing, but I grabbed a napkin at the restaurant. I put down a budget for him. I said, okay, if you want to start this business, selling stuff on Amazon or whatever you want to do, I said, here's what's going to cost you. Here's what you're going to need to do. And then not only that, but your time commitment on your end. At the end of it, the net of the conversation was like, wow, maybe I don't want to do that because it's going to be either hard or it's going to take too much time. Yeah. And I'm like, if you think you can start 2 or 3 businesses at one time, like, good luck. Like, I've tried to do things like that, but what I noticed is what I call TEF, right?
Yeah.
TEF.
Amen.
Time, energy,
like
and focus. If you put those 3 things into anything, a relationship, a business, an idea, an opportunity, your body, exercise.
Say it again.
Time, energy, and focus. Woo. I just wrote this down probably 4 or 5 years ago because I was getting so spread thin on things that everything boils down to those things. Whether it's money or resources, that could be viewed as energy, right? Yeah. Money is energy. It is. Resources are energy. Focus. Where are you going to direct that energy? And then time. You cannot expect good things to happen and good decision making unless you take the time and make the time. Right? Yeah. It's just not going to happen. So time, energy, and focus is kind of my thing. I always say it. So if I'm walking around the office and it's like, anybody hears me say TEF, they know exactly what I'm talking about. Time, energy, focus.
This makes me of Winnie the Pooh. Tut was Tigger? Like TTFM. Well, I don't even know. What did it stand for? Anyway, that was a tangent, but anyway.
By the way, this
TEF.
This podcast brought to you by Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh? Oh, honey. Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin. Okay, that was my Winnie the Pooh. Tigger.
So how do you live that aha moment of like 1,000 years?
Yeah.
You've been doing that for a couple years now, right?
Yes.
How does that impacted your family and like your decision? Obviously, you made a big career change and like you're doing different things.
Huge. And the thing is, and that was kind of where I was going with the. I failed. What I failed at was, long story short, I basically went hopping from company to company. I went to 3 different companies, and I finally came to the last one. I went in one day and I was like, I'm done. I quit. Like, in all respect, and they were cool with it, but it was a leap. And so the 1,000 years thing came from, like, I remember one day, this is the moment. I haven't even told you this. I haven't told anybody this. I was on a stage, and this was when I first started doing comedy, and I was doing this joke, and I was talking about how, like, first of all, I was like, hey, ladies, by a round of applause, is money the most important thing? Like, wouldn't you say, like, money's important, but it's not the most important thing? And all the ladies would be like, yes, that's so true. And I'm like, shut up. You are lying. You know that you care about that money, right? And I say, like, girls, if you're at a campus and a girl asks you, what's your major? What they're really asking you is, how much money are you going to be making?
What's your earning potential?
What's your earning potential? And then they'll say, the follow-up will be, when do you graduate? And I'm like, that's not what they mean. What they really mean is, when will you be making that money, right? And so I remember I was on the stage and like in the middle of the thing, like there was just this really like almost awkward, but just passionate moment where I was like, I was talking to this scenario and I was telling this girl that I want to be a teacher. And I remember being on the stage and like, it just like, it almost was like in that moment, I realized like, that is really what I want to do. Like, I love entertaining. And like the crowd, it wasn't like anybody cheered or nothing. They were just kind of like, oh, huh. And we kind of like shared this moment like, he really wants to be a teacher. And I was like, yeah, I really want to be a teacher. And it kind of just, you know.
And then that whole thing started the whole process of you applying to be an instructor.
Bro, I knew. It's like I am in my bones, man. I love to help and edify people, man, and just help them understand who they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
from the last episode, you are like a religion professor, religion teacher instructor here in Utah. And you have how many youth do you teach every day?
100 every day. I mean, it's different, but I mean, mostly every semester I'll have about 180 students.
180 students.
180 students. Yeah.
And you're impacting them for good. And you're teaching them religion, and you're teaching them self-confidence skills, and you're teaching them how to study scriptures and kind of tie that relationship into their lives.
Most fulfilling, yet the hardest thing I've ever done, and most fulfilling thing I've ever done. But the thing is, it will matter in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So like when I had that insight, going back to when I was at that technology company, right? You know, I went through and I did entertainment, and I love doing entertainment. I love it. Like I love it, right? And so now I'm kind of combining both of them together. And so while I was going through that whole process, like that was the question that I was like, you know, will this matter in 1,000 years? Like even on the small day-to-day stuff, it's like, am I going to really, you know, people say like, are you going to cry over spilled milk? It's like I'll be in like a little friction moment with my wife. We'll be just, and literally on my screensaver, I have, will it matter in 1,000 years? And like all this, I remember one day I was like, we were kind of like arguing a little bit. And I like went in the door and I like, you know, I went inside the room and I saw my desktop and it said, will it matter in 1,000 years? And I was like, no, it doesn't, right? And so I like, you know, we apologize. But it just like we worry about stuff that doesn't mean anything. It means nothing.
Even like career stuff doesn't really matter unless you're actually doing. I just had that realization right now. Like what I'm doing, is it gonna matter really? And it comes down to like a really limited number of things that are going to matter. One is my family, my girls, my wife, my mom and my dad, my in-laws, my close connections. Like I could, on my hand, really limit the things that are going to matter. And you know what that does is that really alleviates me from a lot of pain.
Pressure.
And pressure. Like, is that going to matter when that guy cuts me off in the road?
Listen,
no, not at all.
Listen, I love Steve Harvey. This is another quote that I talked about last time. He said, your talent is how you're paid. Your gift is why you're made. And if you're not using your gift, if you're not like being you, that is what I feel like what most people are saying is they want to have a chance to really be themselves. But we tie it too much into our career. Yeah. And I feel like maybe you just need a hobby. You know what I mean? But you still got to pay the bills, man. Don't be going off and like just like dropping everything and not have a plan and your family's struggling. Don't be doing that because then you're going to affect your family, you know? Yeah. But do be you and stop making excuses about how like, oh man, I don't have all this. I don't have any time. You're lying. You're lying. Like if you gave somebody $1 billion and said, do this thing, they're like, well, I don't have enough time. Like, I'll give you $1 billion. They'd be like, okay, yes, I'll be there at 5. You know what I'm saying? Don't lie to yourself and say you ain't got no time. Yeah. Because pick whatever it is that you're making excuses about and be like, if somebody comes up to you and says, hey, I'll give you $1 billion. Or on the opposite end, say, there's a gun in your face, right? And they say, be there at 5 tomorrow. You're like, I'll be there, right?
What do you want me wearing?
It's all about it's just...
you know what's crazy? The things of most value, which are like my things of most value, my 2 daughters, my wife, my family, are oftentimes the things we trade off for the immediate gratification of our careers.
And then you know what you do? You end up wanting to spend money because you knew that you were lying to yourself the whole time to make up for the time that you weren't there with them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you say,
yeah, it's kind of this weird cycle that we put ourselves into.
It is,
decision making.
Listen, look.
So thinking about like 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Now, what are the things that I can be investing time into that are going to have the biggest impact on that 1,000 years? It's my girls, right? The relationship with people.
Yeah.
Was I able to help that person?
Yeah.
Or invest in being able to provide opportunities for people.
Yes.
That's that kind of, dude, you kind of shook me today.
Amen, man. Look. This is real life, and I know we're kind of coming to an end on this, but around this same time, this is all happening at the same time. In my community, where I go to church, like I was an ecclesiastical leader, right? And so we visited people like naturally in our area, right? And so in our area where we were, there was a huge retirement community. And so on a weekly basis, I'm meeting with elderly people. I'm a 30-something years old guy, and I'm this young guy meeting with people that are in their 70s, 80s, right? These are people who like left everything. I'm talking like many people successful. They left everything, and they're living in these little, rambler homes so they could be close to family. And if you go and you talk to them, I remember one man, I sat there down on his couch, and this is the kind of stuff I would hear. This is the stuff that they would say, I'm gonna wake up early in the morning and I'm gonna watch the sunset.
Simple
stuff,
basic.
Man. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there scrambling around trying to be like, what am I gonna do with my life? And they're like, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow. I'm gonna watch the sunset. And I'm just like, if you talk to a person who's elder, like closer to the end of their life, you know what they talk about? They talk about family. They talk about the stuff that matters forever. That's what they talk about. And no, I don't care what religion you are. That's what they talk about.
That's probably an indication of where our focus needs to be. Younger people, I think.
Amen.
All right. Is it going to matter in 1,000 years?
That's the question.
So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, gosh, what do these guys talk about today? The real question is, and they have to answer this. People have to answer this. We can't answer it for them, right?
Yeah.
So they have to have that realization of what they're doing, what they're working on, that relationship that might be ruined or on the potential of ruin. Yeah. Can it be saved?
Yeah.
And is it going to matter in 1,000 years? And there's an impact on your life when you start thinking that way.
Yeah.
You really only can control yourself. BMW has this, and this podcast is not sponsored by BMW, but they have this ad that I actually really like, and I quote it all the time, and I keep waiting for somebody to call me out on it and say, that's the BMW ad. All it says is the ultimate demonstration of power is control.
Ooh.
Right? The ultimate demonstration of power is control. And I really like that because oftentimes, going back to your point of what the ice cream cone I take, it's we have more control than we think we have. People don't really believe that, I think. A lot of people don't. And the ones that do, I think, are the ones that are closest to figuring things out.
And maybe going full circle with what you said, maybe it is valuable to think big, but then on the day-to-day, in the small choices, making those small choices one at a time based on that bigger vision of where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I think there is maybe, not to say that like, because I know what you meant, but I'm saying like taking the day-to-day, like where am I at? I know I want to be over there, and just cut out all the crap, man, and just focus on the stuff that really matters.
Yeah.
There's very few things that make big differences,
It really is a series of small decisions, right, that may have a big impact.
Yeah.
Daily living.
Yeah.
That daily bricklaying we talked about last time.
And that control comes from the consistency,
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We are going to tie this up. Ask yourself the question, is it going to matter in 1,000 years? Stephen Jones, thanks for coming on. We're going to have you come on again.
Love it.
I think next time we ought to have you do some comedy, though.
Let's do something fun, man. This was deep.
You started going into the comedy. I was hoping you were going to go more, and then you got serious, and then I was like, all right, we're going to be serious. We're going to go serious.
We can do it. Yeah, we'll do it.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Shake the Earth podcast. If you got any questions, let us know. You can hit us up on email. Leave us a review. If you like what you're hearing, or if you want feedback or you want to have somebody on the show, let us know. But I appreciate you taking some time to listen to us.